The Keystone Pipeline is back on track to be constructed. And if you remember during the joint session of Congress, the speech that President Trump gave, he said that he was putting forward an initiative to make sure that the new pipelines constructed are constructed with American steel. Here is his follow-up justification for that. Let's take a look.
My job is not to represent the world. My job is to represent the United States of America.
It turns out not so fast. According to a White House spokesperson who talked to Politico, the Keystone XL pipeline is currently in the process of being constructed, so it does not count as new, retrofitted, repaired, or expanded pipeline. The Commerce study that is still in the process of being written, and it will only yield a requirement that developers use American steel, quote, to the maximum extent possible and to the extent permitted by law. And the Dakota Access Pipeline, another project Trump insisted would be built with American steel, will only be 57% American made. This is just a weird position to be in, where now I'm like, you're already screwing me. At least screw me the way you said you were gonna screw me, you know? So that's that.
Is this another one of those distractions though, where again, we're talking about whether it's American steel or not, when the discussion is supposed to be no pipelines.
So what do you think?
I mean, it's like we're arguing about the steel. So with Veteran Stand, I'm the executive director of Veteran Stand, a nonprofit. We formulated out of the Veteran Stand for Standing Rock and to continue in our movement. We've partnered with the Cheyenne River Sioux, and we're going to continue to fight the Keystone XL pipeline going forward. So if you care about this stuff and you want to fight it, well then you can follow us at veterans-stand.org and help us go out there and continue to fight that. Dakota Access isn't completed yet, and Keystone's not completed yet. We can still fight these things, and don't get in your mind that if one of these pipelines gets completed, then somehow that's a victory. That's a false paradigm as well. Whether they get completed or not, the war and battles for these things can't be over.
So what are the things that are happening now? Because it does seem to me, when I saw this story, I'm like, oh my God. I'm even pissed about the way it's happening. It's already, the ship has left the station. What can people do to get involved? What kinds of things? What's the strategy moving forward?
Well, I think one of the most important constituencies for Democrats and progressives is labor unions, right? And the problem is right now is that a lot of the labor unions, especially the building trades of the AFL-CIO, are in favor of these pipelines. Like they're helping, they're like waving the flag with Trump, right? And they're like, I literally have like a picture on my phone of, this is Donald Trump with the president of the AFL-CIO, okay? Richard Trumka and Donald Trump meeting and smiling for the cameras, and all the building trades guys come in and they meet with Donald Trump, and they're in bed with making this happen.
They're even sharing most of the letters in their names.
And it's just like they've made a deal with the devil. You know, and I think it's a really big problem for the labor unions, a core of the Democratic and progressive constituency base, to be siding with Donald Trump and helping to build these pipelines. They should be standing with environmentalists and people who care about their children and immigrants who are under threat in this country, saying, no, I don't want your meeting with this president. He's not a legitimate president. Yeah. He's a danger to the American people. He's a danger to the US Constitution and to a lot of our members. As labor union leaders, they shouldn't be meeting with them. You know, they shouldn't be meeting with the Trump regime at all. And they're helping build this pipeline right now. So if you're in a labor union, call your local shop steward, call your state labor union president, you know, the head of your CLC, and say, look, we can't be in business with these people. We can't be helping build these pipelines. That's something you guys can do.
That's such a dynamite, like, rhetorical stance for the Trump administration to take.
Look, they're not, these guys are not, they didn't win by accident. Well, they sort of did win by accident, but they put themselves in a position to win by accident by being pretty good at this. They are politically savvy, and they tapped into something there, and they put the labor movement in an incredibly difficult position that they ultimately went with the money. That's, you know, I mean, I couldn't agree with Ryan more, and I couldn't think it is less likely to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, why would they? Why would they? I mean, well, because I got a job, I'm building something.
Because long term, Donald Trump is not going to stand with American labor, and those guys he's got working with him are not going to stand with American labor. They're not. They've been against labor their whole lives. Trump has fought with labor unions his whole lives. All those guys he's got working for him have fought with labor unions their whole lives. The Republican Party for 45 years now, longer, but that's as long as I've been alive, plus a little, have tried to break the back of American labor and have succeeded. in large part. And the notion that now, because they're dangling the jobs for a few years to build pipelines, that's going to overall transform the party's position on labor is foolish thinking. It is as foolish as journalists who saw that speech and thought, oh my God, he's pivoting. Thank goodness he's coming back to the norm. Television journalists, who, pundits, who, this is what we've expected. This is what we're comfortable saying. This is the establishment position that Trump will drift back to the center. We always knew he would. They're not paying attention, and I think labor is missing it here.
Yeah, and here's why not. Here's why not for the jobs and for the money. Because you don't want to be the union that represents the guards at the front of the concentration camp. Okay, you don't want the 30 pieces of silver that turn in a third of your membership base of unions writ large, including SEIU and all the other unions. They're immigrants, and they have immigrant members that are their friends and their family members and their community members. Those people feel under threat in this country by this president. That's why you don't sit down with them and say, hey, can we go build something that's gonna create 1,000 jobs over 30 years with them? Because it's so disrespectful to the mass constituency of your organizing base. That's why you don't take those 30 pieces of silver.
But disrespect, Ryan, is not gonna do it. It's gotta be proven that it's the right thing to do for your pocketbook long term.
Right.
And I think that is true, but I don't think first of all, you're right in the sense is that union members, those are bonded folks and they care about other unions. And so it might have more persuasiveness than it would. It is, that's right. But long term, it is a disastrous stand and it's frustrating. I got Republican friends who will hear that and think, look, you just want to get in the way of everything Trump does.
Goddamn right we do.
That's right, yes we do. And it's not the same as George W. Bush, who was a catastrophe. But it is different. There is an obvious questions about legitimacy here, and George Bush didn't ostracize Muslims. I mean, for crying out loud, he went into those two wars without managing to ostracize Muslims like this. To say nothing of George Bush's legitimate efforts that he thought, I'd like to make an immigration deal. That seems like a good idea. Seems smart politically and seems like the right thing to do. And he was unable to do that because of the Republicans mostly in the House. So. Yeah, there is only one position to take. When you see a fraud, you don't make deals with the fraud to legitimize the fraud, even if it means sometimes you're having to oppose things that you're in favor of.
And do you think that he's not going to turn around and motherfuck you?
Of course he
is. This guy, it's like, that's his business model.
He's a 70-year-old mendacious, narcissist, anti-curious fraud. He is not, you know what, I'm going to change. That is inconceivable that is about to happen.
Yeah. Is there another set of labor unions, like alternative transportation of oil, like people who are driving the oil now?
Well, that's the thing is you're taking those jobs away. I've gone and complained about that a bunch of times. The construction of these pipelines literally takes away jobs from all those truck drivers who are transporting now. We say, oh, well, they can spill too. Yeah, but they spill one truckload, bro. We'll recover.
And look, the real solution is we need to be building clean energy jobs.
Yes,
those create massive amounts of manufacturing jobs here in the United States. We can pivot to a clean energy economy. We don't need to be digging up dirty oil or doing hydraulic fracturing and fracking. What we need to be doing is installing solar panels and windmills and getting using water to create energy, not digging up the remains of dinosaurs and burning them. It's just we're going to look back on this in history and just think, what were they thinking? That they thought that they could live off of a finite resource that was based on millions of years of something decomposing. They're gonna be like, why weren't they just using the energy from the sun and the wind and the water,
You can help hire investigative reporters that'll chase down stories no one else will. Be the media. TYTnetwork.com/go.